Welcome to the Smooth Experience. I'm Fred Favors, and today a special treat. Two legends are in the building. Hubert, Eloise Laws, part of the incredible Laws family. I want to talk to them today about how things were when they grew up, and actually you call it legends, past, present, and future. Hello, guys.
Hi there.
Welcome to both of you.
Who do you want to speak first?
Well, you know what? Age is important to me, but wisdom is too. Do you have both of those?
Yeah. I believe you're targeting the right person
Talking
first.
to the right person first.
Yes.
Hubert, let's talk about, first of all, you guys are going to be performing at the Catalina Jazz Club coming up on the 24th, Friday 24th, and Saturday the 25th. That is going to be a treat because we have been shut down for a long time in this country and around the world. That is going to be nice having you two in that place. Talk about it.
Well, Fred, actually it's Eloise's performance. I'm just like
Special guest. He's my special guest.
Special guest.
I'm just an adjunct to what's going to happen there. So, I'm just going to be minuscule, okay?
I understand.
So, but it's a venue. Catalina's a venue I've played many times. With her, as well as with Chick Corea, and I played once with Tierney Sutton. But anyway, you want to know about the family, I believe you.
The family, indeed. As we can go back to your wonderful mother, who's 102 years old, you and Eloise talk about what it was like growing up with Mom, because she's got to have some serious genes. Because Eloise tells me she's as sharp as a tack, and 102 years old. Talk about it. What it was like. Talk about her. Both of you, and what was it like growing up with her and your father, Hubert?
Well, both of my parents were very influential. My father was very inspirational to me, even to this day, because of his work ethic. And my mother, she made it possible for the musical environment because there was always a piano in the house. And she tells me when I was about 4, I got up there on the piano stool and started playing music, making melodies by ear. You see, so I have to attribute that to our grand creator because, as a matter of fact, there are many people who ask me about improvisation and if there's really a school for it, but I really don't think there's a school for the talent that's inherent. I think what there might be some learning of the theoretical aspect, but the feeling and the actual execution comes from a divine source. So my mother was influential in the fact that she played gospel music in the home because she also was the resident pianist for the Baptist Church. So we had exposure to gospel, and then across the street from us there was a honky-tonk. And so we were able to hear rhythm and blues there. So the environment really was fertile for us to grow in that way. And in fact, that's a root of improvised music. We know gospel and rhythm and blues are the roots of the music that we do today. We just do an embellishment of that grand theme. So that was the environment, and there were 4 of us in the beginning. When I say that, it was like an interval of 10 years between the first and then the last 4. So that I had my sister Blanche was the oldest, and then came me, and then after me my brother Johnny, and then Eloise. You see, and then there was a 10-year interval until Ronnie was born. So there came Ronnie. After Ronnie came Charlotte, and from Charlotte there was Deborah, and then Donna.
Mama and Dad spaced you guys out pretty well.
She did. We were 2 years apart. The first set of 4 was 2 years apart.
Yeah.
And the second set, I believe they might have been 2 years apart as well. But just to add to what Hubert has said, my mom was very supportive of what the Creator blessed us with.
Indeed.
And the gift, the talent that we had, very supportive. And so, now, unlike my dad, he always said, singing and performing is not a job.
Sounds like my dad.
So she had to sometimes just kind of sneak us out of the house to go and perform. I know with Hubert, I was a little younger, but I remember her doing that. and coming home and talking about how they would throw money at the clubs. They used to throw money at the artists, and which was always a good, wonderful thing because that's how you got paid.
Yes, indeed.
Pretty much. But she was always supportive. She traveled with me in my early part of my career. Whenever wherever I had to go because I was young, she would travel with me, and she was always very supportive, helping me to stay out of trouble, keeping the riffraff away, and also a partner.
Mom was serious about taking care of the house and her kids. What was it like? Was she very strict? Dad very strict, and you grew up in Houston, Texas. Southern family, Southern mom. Were they born actually, mom and dad from Houston, or were they from originally?
Yes,
Texas, but
actually, my dad was born in a small town called Burton, Texas, and then my mother was some small town outside of Houston. It's like the suburbs somewhere. But I was about to comment. You asked about being strict, and I was just going to comment about how my father. See, we were reared in that Baptist religious environment there, so they thought the music that I was beginning to play, other than what they termed as religious music, they thought it was the devil's music. Okay, so especially living across the street from the honky tonk, and the people who listened and frequented that music, they generally had alcohol and other other devices around. So that's probably why they thought that way. Yeah. Now, a really kind of comical situation did develop. Now I'm learning something about Eloise I didn't know. Now I didn't know my mother that they threw money at her, because that's exactly what they did. My first appearances, as they used to call me the 13-year-old sensation. I wasn't playing a flute at that time. I was playing alto saxophone.
Whoa.
That brings me to that point where she said my mother or my parents bought the instrument. No, I had a newspaper route. I threw the Houston Chronicle. That's a local newspaper. And every day after school, I would gather these papers and go in through the neighborhood and deliver these papers. And it was minuscule amount of money I was making out of that. But I was able to save. I remember exactly the amount of money I saved to buy my alto saxophone. It was $242, and it took a long time to pay.
Well, wouldn't you say that was a lot of money?
Because it wasn't raining money as a paper route.
Yeah, but anyway, what happened was I participated in a local talent show, the Trummy Kane talent show, and happened to win. You had bought
your by then, and so you were able to perform with that at the show.
That's right, the alto saxophone. There was a local artist whose tone on that saxophone was so impressive. His name was Tab Smith. He had this hit record called "Because of You." Actually, I learned later that he didn't originate. Like many instrumentalists will cover popular tunes. Now, Tony Bennett had a record out at that time, and no doubt he covered it with an instrumental version of "Because of You." Mm-hmm. And that version I heard, and that's what impressed me so much. I said, I told my mother, I got to buy that saxophone. So I saved my money, and let me tell you, boy, when you're young, you can tolerate so much heat. I was, because Houston's very hot during the summer and very cold in the winter.
Humid too.
And here I was doing that, and I did that at age 9. That's how I was when I started.
Did you have a bicycle? How did you get those papers to the?
I had a bicycle. And then have the satchels on each side, look like bags off on a horse.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
I had that. But anyway, boy, you're taking me back to my. But I'm trying to make it short because I want Eloise to kind of expound.
You're doing well. Keep going.
Yeah, but so I think it was about 12. It was about 12 or 13. No, I was 12 when I participated on that Trummy Kane talent show, the local talent show, and happened to win. And as a result of winning, some of the club owners would try to enlist some of the winners to play in their clubs. And here's the funny part. My dad always talked about that was the devil's music. Mm-hmm. But when we got enlisted to play, we got to play on those shows. I remember he drove me there.
Oh, wow.
And, and I'm playing, and he saw these people throwing this money out there.
Money is king.
Now, remember, I'm making a week. I'm making maybe $1.50 or $2 a week off my newspaper route. And I would make one night you know, maybe what I would make for 6 months in that.
Oh, you made him a believer.
Yeah.
So you know what was so funny was that I overheard him talking to one of his friends. Hey, he said, "Hey, Jack." They call each other Jack back there. "Hey, Jack, you know, my son was out there. You should have seen them throw that money at him."
He probably went on and told his son, "Get that out those sacks."
Yeah. He became a believer then.
Eloise, I wanted to ask you, who did you listen to at a young age that made you say, "This is something I want to do"?
Well, as I was listening, I didn't think of if it was something I wanted to do. My mom had records of Billie Holiday and Dinah Washington, and I listened to those two singers at a very early age. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize what an impact it had on me until I got to college. Now, I was always singing in the church every Sunday, but when I got to college, as Hubert mentioned, I entered into a contest with CBS. They were coming through looking for talent. And I just happened to be walking through the auditorium, and I saw a lot of kids there and auditioning, and some of my friends said, "You should go and audition. You should go and audition." I went, and I did. God Bless the Child That's Got His Own by Billie Holiday.
Yeah.
I won the contest, and then I went on to the Nationals, and I won that contest. And then after that, CBS, not records, but CBS television station had 7 affiliates throughout the country. And the national contest I won, as I said, from their 7 affiliates. And I started working as a professional after that. And I am where I am today because of the start that I got with CBS.
What was it like working with Linda Creed, who legendary Linda Creed, what was it like?
Oh, well, it's almost like you would say a dream come true, because she had written so many hits with the stylistics and that whole Gamble and Huff, the Philly sound.
Yes.
So she knew of me really before I really knew of her. But once I met her, and then she began to tell me all the work and things that she had written, it was an honor. She was such a nice person, and very talented, and so she wanted to work with me, and of course, for me, I don't think I had a choice. I mean, she was put there to produce me, so it was a dream come true. It was a pleasure.
Holland Dozier, Holland, obviously an incredible group of talent. How was it like working with them?
It was not like working with Linda Creed, I can assure you.
They had a whole different energy, probably. Yeah?
Absolutely. As talented as they are, their discipline and their the way they worked in the studio was just it was a totally different experience. But grant you, they were very talented. And it really didn't fit for me, but I did a few things with them. But yes. I think the Linda Creed work was probably some of my best work.
Indeed.
Let me tell you something. I hate to butt in, but she neglected to tell you something about herself when she was, going up the ladder, so to speak. She appeared on several TV shows, and it was like, for us, I mean, it was like, wow, it was spectacular because...
How old was she then when she appeared on those shows?
Well, she may have been in her early 20s.
20s, yeah.
But 20s. So you used to wait up late, because she was on these shows like Merv Griffin. I think it was
Merv
Griffin.
Tonight Show, Johnny Carson.
What? And we weren't on a lot of shows at that time.
I was one of the few.
Come on now.
Yeah.
Because, she was...
CBS, again, I was being sponsored by CBS, so they made it... They made it possible for
Merv Griffin, Johnny Carson, those are huge. You don't get any bigger than Merv and Johnny.
No,
come on.
Well, exactly. I was a regular. Wow. I was a regular on the shows.
That's right. That was one of the things.
But a lot of people don't even.
They know now. They will know.
But I remember, the only time I was there is because I appeared with this guy, Claude Bowling. He's a French pianist, and he wrote some very, very successful works for a classical flutist. Jean-Pierre Rampal. But anyway, that's the only way I got. That was the only one and only time I was on.
National television, you mean? He and I did a thing together. You and I did a thing together.
What I'm thinking, I was, like I said, I was an adjunct. Like I'm going to be on the show, like on the Catalina show.
No, you're an integral part of the show.
No, but
you
I'm
are
saying
a special guest.
she's the main attraction, and and she's just off the cuff. Say, Hubert, I'm doing this gig at Catalina's. Will you do? I said, absolutely.
But it's helping because his name is on there as a guest,
Oh,
so it's
no
going to
question.
help.
No question.
Well, it's a pleasure to do that. Eloise and the family, she has been the most cogent one when it comes to helping people.
Wow.
I mean, really. I mean, in the family, she's always been so generous. I mean, recently I've been dealing with some challenges in my life, and she's been very, very, I was telling you about my vision, and she's been very, very helpful. I mean, actually reaching out and anticipating, I learned the difference between the two words. I can't think of it. Beneficiary, beneficent, and there's one that's being beneficent. That's a person who anticipates your need and then caters to it.
Wow.
See, the other one is a benefactor.
Yes, sir.
See, the benefactor, they give to you, after the fact.
Yes,
sir. But the beneficent one always anticipates what you need and caters to that.
Well, thank you, Hubert. That's a supreme high compliment. I appreciate it.
Well, it's
but
true.
it's the way the Creator made me.
You guys
I can't help myself.
You guys have performed all over the world. What place in this world have you had the most fun? Did you get energized you the most? What place in this world that we live in? You played everywhere, pretty much. Morocco, Africa. I mean, what place?
Almost everywhere. I've always tried to get my family involved with my performances somehow or another. And I just remember the last time we played together was in Tokyo, Japan.
Mm-hmm, sure was.
The whole family? I mean, the whole...
all of us.
Wow.
Hubert, Ronnie, me, and Deborah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was the first, actually, I believe.
Jeez.
Don't you think, Hubert? No, Berkeley. You took us to Berkeley.
Yeah, we also
Someone
did
took us to
Carnegie
Berkeley.
Hall together.
Oh, well, that was your gig, and we were...
You guys got to find a way to put that together here in the States because, my goodness, can you imagine having... anyway.
We've been approached, and maybe one day it'll happen, but it has to be the right
It
circumstance.
has to be the right circumstance.
Sure.
And you have to be invited. There are people
Mm-hmm.
who do that. I mean, I'm not a promoter.
Yes.
I mean, I could very well get involved. Somebody presented to me an idea. Okay, look, we want to get this. We want to use this venue, and have your family appear. Would you like to sponsor it? Well, that's something to consider. See, because it takes money.
Yes, it does.
To promote an event like that.
But I want to talk to promoters out there right now. Get your monies together. Get the venue together. This is a legendary family. Make it happen.
We did do a Playboy Festival many years together.
Was Bill doing the...
Bill was the...
that's when it was really
MC.
the Playboy Jazz
Exactly.
Festival at that time.
Exactly. You do remember that?
I remember because we got ready to play the finale, and Bill Cosby said, "Hey, hold it," because he wanted to acknowledge Richard Pryor out there in the audience.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
You remember I mean, there were many shows you guys probably did in the Playboy Jazz Festival. Is there any that you remember more than any other? Any particular show that you remember because of something that may have happened?
Again, Japan, I think, for me, was really a highlight. We were there for over 10 days, I believe.
Yeah, but that was just Eloise and me.
Okay.
Not in Japan. Ronnie and Deborah was there.
No, not for the... Are you talking about the RX? That's when Nancy...
Oh,
Wilson was there.
Nancy. Oh, of course. I remember. That was that was the first. You're right. The second time we went over as a family. But you're right. That was with Nancy Wilson. First time meeting Nancy. And
Well, really?
actually for me...
You and Nancy had a special relationship.
Yeah, well, she was standing in the wings at one of we did the Oryx Jazz Festival. It started in Japan, then it went to Osaka, then it went to, what's it called? Yamashura or something. No, third place. But it was Lionel Hampton on that tour, Richard T., and what was the...
was Bob James there?
Bob James.
Bob James might have been there, too. It was a big... There was 3 groups. We followed... I don't know who was the lead group, but Nancy was with the Lionel Hampton group. We were with the Richard T. group. Who was the guy, Hubert, who played... He's a
Eric Gale?
JW.
Eric Gale?
Eric Gale.
He was a guitar player.
Eric Gale. And there was another jazz pianist, I believe. And he was
With Nancy Wilson, I think it was Hank Jones. Hank
Okay.
Jones?
These are all big names.
But
people.
it was 3 different groups, and one would start in Japan, and then the other group would come through the next night. So it was very well organized and a lot of fun.
I got to ask you guys a question. This is a question that I posed to you yesterday. I said, don't answer it. I don't want to hear it today. I want to hear it tomorrow.
Right.
Who living, first of all, today that you may not have played with before, ever, that you would like to play with?
I'll tell you who. Someone
Eloise?
I'd love
Okay.
to share the stage with. However, Madonna has beat me to it, and that's Tony Bennett.
Ooh, I like that guy.
I love him too.
Oh, you guys could do a serious duet.
I love him too.
Tony!
Tony, are you listening? Before you leave us.
Before you leave us.
Yes.
Boy, that would be a
I
great
think it's
situation.
unfair that
My goodness.
that Madonna got to do this.
Well, he did
because this is not really her forte. It's my forte.
It is indeed. Now, he did something with Amy Winehouse. I remember
Winehouse
that
as well,
was
before
pretty
she
decent.
died.
Before she died, yeah,
Sure.
pretty decent. Hubert, who today, living today, that you haven't played with, and your list. I was reading that list the other day, and my wife said, you come and eat. I said, it's going to take us through a couple of days. I'm still reading the list of people that he played with, all big-time entertainers. But who living today that you haven't played with that you would love to play with?
That's a tough.
Now, classical, you can go classical, you can go smooth jazz, you can go pop. You hit all those areas, so who?
That's a tough one.
Well, it's hard to come up with an answer because there's so many fine artists out there. So many.
I know.
And I've had the honor of playing with some of the best. And I always felt, inept when I was playing. I just told you about it.
Hold. Hubert Laws, the baddest man on the planet with the flute, felt inept. You got to tell me.
Why?
You kind of just shook me up when you said that, so I got to.
Well, I'll tell you why, Fred. Because music itself is a humbler.
Yeah, okay.
Because, many people use these words loosely, I think, when they say experts and master. I think that those are misnomers because there's only one master for me.
Yes.
That's the one who created this wonderful organism.
Yes, indeed.
You see?
Indeed.
So that's why music, especially improvised music, you always feel like there's always somewhere to go.
Yes.
See, now I have friends who I went to school with, in New York, a classical institution, and they're my peers. Many of them are still living, but they're musical fatalities.
Yes.
You know why?
Why?
Because they've learned the music. They think they've learned all the repertoire. I've achieved this. I've done this. So where do you go from there?
Wow.
But when you play improvised music, it's always
somewhere to go. Always somewhere to go.
Somewhere new.
Somewhere you haven't been before.
New to go.
That's why I say I feel inept. Because that's what it is. I mean, so music itself is something that allows you. It's like, what do you call it? An equalizer. Like death is an equalizer, right?
Yes.
Music is an equalizer.
You had to say that, but it is.
Yeah. So that's why I say what I say, because I know that there's so many more out there who know so much more, have much more experience, play so much better. So that's why if you come to that realization, then there's reason to not to exalt yourself.
No, I see what you're saying, and it makes good sense, So now you cleared that up. I'm all right now. Now, who has left they've left the planet. Who out there that has left the planet, not with us anymore, that you haven't played with, both of you, that you would love to play with? I know Tony Bennett for you. We didn't get to you on the one that's living. It was too hard, but I understand. Who not living today?
Still hard for me, okay, because there's so many great.
How about Chick? How about your career?
Well, yeah, I played with him, though. You said I haven't played with him.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, we
That's
played,
true.
Okay.
and as a matter of fact, his music is such a legacy. I mean, every day since he passed away, there's one of his tunes that I play. I used to improvise on chord changes, tunes. Why? Because this guy was such a prolific composer and superlative player. I mean, the guy when he improvises, it's almost like somebody wrote the music and he played every note perfectly.
All that stuff he did with Return to Forever. That group. Was that mostly Chick Corea?
He wrote most of that.
Most of that. Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I was talking to one of the players in the orchestra last night because Gil Evans did the Sketches of Swing for Miles, right? And there was a replication of that record last night for this concert we did. And they had like 17-piece orchestra there. And believe me, they were playing his actual written arrangements. Mm-hmm. And he had other people standing in for Miles' sound. I was talking to one of those persons, and I was talking about how this is what I said to you earlier, how when Chick would play, I said, in fact, he was on my very first record for Atlantic. Wow. He was known as Armando.
Chick Corea?
Yeah, his name, they didn't know him as Chick. His name was Armando. And so on the record, you're going to see his name, Armando Correa. Mm.
This is how many years after you guys left Juilliard School?
No, that was,
music?
Let's see, I think my first recording somewhere is 1964, 65. Yeah. And that was the year, I finished Juilliard in 64. Wow. So 65, I think that's when I did that first record. They called it The Laws of Jazz. These commercial people.
Jazz was king right there, too, boy, wasn't it? My goodness.
And I'm going to tell you, I was not ready to record at that time.
What do you mean?
I'm serious. I was not ready, but I was kind of forced to do it. And as I don't even like to listen to. The only thing I like to listen to on those records was Chick. But even at that time, the guy was so advanced, man, playing. He's always been. That's why I know it's a divine gift. Yes, it's a divine gift because it's like a woman. Some women are just beautifully naturally, right? They're beautiful naturally. Yes. Some of them have to put a lot of makeup.
Yes.
See, so so I'm saying that even though but you have to acknowledge that you have a gift. Yes. If you're given natural features, physical features. Well, it's the same with your gift from above with your music talent. Yes. It's a gift. Yes. And if you acknowledge that, then it's also very humbling because what it'll help you don't have to extol yourself as I'm this, I'm that, and fanfares. I don't like fanfares. I really don't. And I've come to I should say loathe it, but I see the superficiality in it when people try. I remember one guy. I was in Coral Gables, Florida. This guy was like one of those rock type guys. Like very flamboyant and so here comes so-and-so. You know what he did when he announced me? And so here's Hubert Laws. I say, you see, that's why, you're loud and wrong, right?
Yeah.
Right.
It's not necessary to do that.
Woo, my goodness.
So, we should really be humble, man. Yes. I just like to walk on the stage and do what I'm supposed to do. And if it touches somebody's spirit and they come to me, people have come to me with tears, man, because of some of the music we played. It reminds me of why I recorded Amazing Grace.
I was going
to get to Amazing Grace. Don't hold that because I want to get to Amazing Grace in a minute. Okay. Don't you go nowhere with that.
I agree.
I want to get to that. You played it for your father. I know that. And we're going to talk about that, so don't go nowhere. Eloise, Ain't Nothing But the Blues. Co-written.
Yes.
You were nominated for a Tony.
Yeah.
Huge. To go on Broadway with something like that, and what's your feeling after you're nominated for something huge like that? What's your feel? How do you feel?
Well, it was a great feeling, and I'll tell you why. Doing theater was really my first love. I never, ever intended to become an individual performer. So, no, it was never really my dream. But I got a scholarship to go to Texas Southern, and I studied music. And then after 4 years, I got the CBS thing, another fellowship. But when I went to New York, which the fellowship afforded me to do, I wanted to do Broadway. But I went in a different direction. I started working the Playboy circuits because I auditioned for Broadway, and I got Hair. I was one of the original.
What?
But I turned it down. I turned it down.
You were working at Playboy?
No, I wasn't. I had not. I had auditioned for the Playboy circuit, and I auditioned for Hair, and both of them came through. Wow. And I had a choice to make, and I took the money. Playboy was offering more money a week.
Yes.
Hair was only offering $3 because it was about, it was a huge company, Hair. Cleavon Little was a part
it's
of
big
it.
time,
Melba Moore.
big time.
And you had to take your clothes off. So I had to decide which one I would want, which one that I wanted to take.
And if you want to go back, if you want to go back to Houston to see Mom, that's not the one to take.
my dad. There's an album cover that I did, and I just had my legs open, and my dad called me and said, "Why do you have to have your legs open?" But I chose Playboy.
Yes.
And so that really started my career.
Who'd you
all
perform
over
with over there, Playboy? Some of the names that you were.
Oh my God, George Carlin.
Oh, my favorite comedian.
Flip Wilson, believe it or not.
I love
Lily
him.
Tomlin, believe it or not.
Genius.
And so I opened for all these people. George Kirby.
Oh my God, yes.
So the list is
Sammy Davis.
Sammy lived in the same building. He was over there doing Golden Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Now my mom went with me to Europe. That was my second Playboy club. The first one was at the main Playboy in Chicago. That was the main. That's where Hef was, Hugh Hefner. And my second club that they sent me to was in the UK, the Playboy Club in the UK. And Sammy Davis and Lola Falaner were in the same hotel room on our same floor. Well, that really freaked me out.
Wow.
So, again, theater was my first love, and it took me 30 years to get there. So, It Ain't Nothing But the Blues took me there.
Amazing.
After we had done theater throughout the country with this show, we finally made it to Broadway. But I did the Geffen. We did major cities like Seattle, Cleveland, Colorado,
Yes.
Regional theater, it's called. And finally, when we were in New Jersey at Crossroads Theater, across the bridge from New York, one of the producers came and saw the show. And there was this gentleman just kept yelling and screaming after each song at the back of the house of the theater. And he was the one that took us, Eric Krebs is his name, he took us to Broadway.
Wow.
And the rest is history.
And what's the follow-up? Because, once you hit a home run like that, they're asking what's the follow-up. You guys working on anything now as far as that concerned?
As far as theater is concerned? Mm-hmm. No, unfortunately. But I did other theater shows before I got the blues show. I did South Pacific. I played the role of Bloody Mary.
Okay.
And again, it was regional theater. But I said all that to say my love was theater, and it took me 30 years to get there.
Back home.
Because I went the opposite direction, the Playboy circuit, and then clubs, and then when I met up with my family in Los Angeles, we did concerts.
Maybe God was taking you there to lead you there.
To lead me there. You never know. You never know.
Amazing Grace.
Yep.
I mean, I cry when I hear that. I want you to know that.
Yes.
I do that in private, though. Don't let my wife hear that. Just the man coming out of me. You know what I'm saying? The mandingo. But
I see Catalina in
the background.
Yeah.
I have to say this about Amazing Grace before you go into it. We have a doctor who's a very famous doctor here. He's as a matter of fact, he took care of Reginald Denny during the Rodney. He was the one that gave the guy that was in Compton where they took him out of his truck, beat him, and had to have the trach in his.
Wow.
Well, his name is Madison Richardson. He also did Mom. He did surgery on my mom. He is my ENT doctor, but he also says I never do surgery without playing Amazing Grace, your brother's Amazing Grace. He says that I've been doing it for over 30 years.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious. His name, Madison Richardson. He says whenever I'm in the surgery room, the first thing I put on is that Amazing
Why
Grace.
is that song, when you put it on, because I put it on for the first time, and why can't you put it down? What's the deal with that? Tell me about it,
I'll tell
Mr.
you
Laws.
what. All right. My understanding is this. You just said, the bridge to me just now, you said something about God led you. You remember you said that?
Yes, indeed.
Well, I genuinely believe, we've heard the expression guardian angel.
Mm-hmm.
I am a voracious eater of the Bible. Like people feed their mouth. I feed my ears.
Yes.
And I read it, constantly. And I think it's a source of wisdom.
Yes.
But I learned something about that because, you hear where the hairs on your head are numbered.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how is that possible? Well, I think because there's delegation of spirit. There's, the Bible describes that there are myriads of angels.
Indeed.
So now, what is their job? Okay, well, the work is delegated to them.
Yeah, they're not just flying around up in heaven somewhere. They can't do no good up there. This is what they need.
They're called messengers.
Yes, indeed.
So I was just reading the history of Jacob on his. He was on his dying bed, and he was designating the inheritances of all his 12 sons. But before he did that, he said something about an angel who's been shepherding me throughout my whole life.
Wow.
Now that resonates with me, because I feel like, Eloise just talked about how she made a decision to go one way or the other when she was offered those. Now I had a similar type decision. I was working the David Frost TV show in New York City.
Much familiar with David Frost.
Yeah,
sure.
and this guy, I don't know if you heard of Billy Taylor. He's a piano
Yeah,
player.
piano
Yes.
player. He was the musical director of that show.
He handpicked about 10 musicians to be the background, to be the musicians on that show. And he brought us into the green room and he talked to us. He says, guys, I influenced these producers that you are very special. And that, because musicians are habitually would send in subs when they wanted to take a more higher paying job.
Yes.
Or even substitute.
Yes.
You see? Well, so he impressed on us that there was, we could not just freely send in substitutes for that gig. Well, I was the first one, only because I wanted to attend a religious convention.
Right.
So he was sympathetic towards it. He let me off. Then the second time, I got this call from Memphis, Tennessee. His name was Creed Taylor. Okay, Creed Taylor had just begun, formed his own record company. Okay, called CTI. Okay. And he had already engaged this rhythm section, who had been very successful with Herbie Mann, who was at that time like prevailing flute player, and his music. In fact, he did a record called Memphis Underground, and that rhythm section he used. Actually, Creed had set up that rhythm section for either Stanley Turrentine or Hank Crawford. But both of those guys, I think Hank had got incarcerated or something, for alcohol. So he called me. Okay, here I am. I got the best job in town in New York at that time. Creed did not offer me a penny. Okay, didn't offer me a penny, but he says, Hubert, I got this rhythm. Can you come down and record? And I was already signed with Atlantic Records.
Wow.
I was already so. I'm puzzled at that decision. That's why I said I feel like there was something else.
Guardian angel
that pushed me to make that decision, because it had nothing to do with money. Now let's put it this way: you can have short sight or you can have foresight. Okay, you can have long range vision like an eagle. An eagle can see a fly. So I consider that angel has like an eagle.
Yes.
Because it really influenced me to make the decision that I made. So I dropped that job, very lucrative job. I dropped that job, flew down to Memphis, and as it turned out, my very first record with CTI was called Crying Song. And that's how that record came about.
That wouldn't have come about if you hadn't made that decision to do that?
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah,
the record itself was not successful. But I was the very first artist for CTI. And then I began to record other records. I think maybe the one that has Amazing Grace was maybe the fourth. And now I can come to how I began to record.
Let's do it.
My dad, I bought my dad a boat. He loved to fish, right? Okay. So I bought him this. I was about 25-foot boat.
Yeah.
So I happened to be in Houston at the time visiting. And after he'd come back from fishing, he was watering that boat down, get the salt all off it. And while he was doing that, I heard him humming.
Amazing
Grace. Yes.
I said, Dad, you know what? I'm going to go back to New York. I'm going to record that tune for you.
And that's how
Is that the first time you heard him hum that song or sing that song?
I'd heard the song long before.
But not from your dad.
Him.
But from him doing it at that strategic time, I decided, I said, I'm going to record that for you. Now, my dad never understood what I did in
That's
terms
what
of
I said earlier.
My dad, he said, what's that stuff you do? all those notes. I heard somebody else describe jazz the same way. Too many notes for me. I've heard people say that. But, there's something very, very unique about that. Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness, it does something to my spirit, and it always attracted me since I was 12 years old. Yes. Many people don't resonate with it. Mm-hmm. But that's why I know it's a gift from above. It's a
do you play that song when you perform? Do you always include that song, or is that song?
No, I don't always include it. Depends on the venue and the circumstance.
It's on our program at Catalina.
Wow,
it is.
Yeah, I put it on there. It's gonna be your closer. Our closer.
Oh my goodness! You didn't tell me that.
I'm gonna send you that. I know I didn't, but I want to
talk about that in the car because this could get hot now. You might want to continue that conversation in the car.
I know, but I'll show you the program. I'm gonna send you the program. It's on here. I've already put the program together, and I just talked to someone yesterday. I said, no, we're closing with them. I think we need it. I think the country needs it. I think everybody needs
healing.
A healing.
And let's talk about that while we got you here. Eloise Laws performing at the Catalina Jazz Club in Hollywood, and we need this particular show. We need it.
Well, we do.
We've been shut down for so long, and to have legends like you and your incredible brother in that venue is going to be, huge. So get your tickets as soon as you can. Doors open at 7:30. 323-466-2210. Call in advance to reserve. And me and my wife are going to be there, and we're going to have a heck of a time listening to some of the best performances in the history of the music business. You guys are.
I think you will.
I got to tell you, when I started listening to music, I was about smooth jazz. I was about 15, 16 years old. My older brother came home and he brought here's Hubert Laws and here's Ronnie. And I said, okay, well, let's I've been listening to James Brown. Let me hear this. And so I said, man, this I can think with this. I can do some things with this. And that was my beginning of smooth jazz in the early 70s. And I've been there since. I started working at a station called WBBY in Columbus. You may be familiar with that. P. Norman was the program director there, and I was just a young kid, maybe 20 years old, starting at that station. And it's just smooth jazz, just jazz in period. And but you actually do classical. Classical is a major for you. Talk about that.
Well, classical music was really the reason why I began to play the flute. Because in my high school band, my band director, Sammy Harris, chose the William Tell Overture for a commencement exercise, graduation commencement exercise. And in the band, there was nobody with a flute. And it just at that's why here comes that angel again. Because at that particular time, there was a friend of mine whose name I still remember, Sonny King. He had an old flute in his attic somewhere. And he gave me that flute just at that time. So I was able to try to look. There were 4 days passed before I can make a sound on that thing. Okay, but then I worked and worked and worked, and so in order to play the big flute solo on the William Tell Overture. Now many people know the very popular part of that overture because it's a theme for the long range. But before that, there's a prelude where there's a beautiful. In fact, I use it on. I record my own ringtones on my flute, and I recorded that just to remind me of my humble beginnings. Because I was definitely humbled by having to play that solo because it's very challenging. Okay.
Yes.
So, and I see, where was I going? You asked me about, I was telling you about how I began to play, classical music.
Classical music.
So that was my beginning and introduction to that instrument. Wow. And since then, I was already playing saxophone, and I played clarinet a little bit, and I played piano. But when I started playing the flute, I said, this is great, because I don't have to worry about reeds anymore on my saxophone. I still play the saxophone, but there was some kind of there was almost like a marriage. You finally found your mate.
Right.
Now I'm still looking for my physical mate, but when it came to music, I found my match.
Wow.
Okay. So and so as a result, I wanted to learn how to play that instrument like I heard it in the symphony orchestra. These guys had different kind of sound than from the jazz players that I had heard. The sound was just much richer, and it had some kind of profound touch on my spirit. So that's why I wanted to learn to play it that way, and at Texas Southern, where I was attending at the time, well, after I finished high school, we were required to go by a music appreciation course. We were required to go to a symphony concert once a week. So when I was at Texas Southern, there was no flute teacher. There was clarinet, there was violin, all the other instruments, but no flute teacher.
Right.
So while going to one of those concerts, I bumped into the two flute players from the orchestra.
Wow.
And here I am in Jim Crow territory, right?
Yes, indeed.
And both these guys are white. And,
Wow.
but when you're adventurous when you're a young person.
Yes.
You're very adventurous.
Yes, you don't look at
And
the dangers so
I
much.
didn't think a thing about anything other than music and what I wanted to do with that
Right.
instrument. So I stopped and said, well, why don't you guys give me flute lessons? And David Colbig looked at Clement Brown and he said, you take him. So Clement Brown became my teacher.
Wow.
And I began learning how to operate that instrument like classical flute players did. And so I applied that to when I improvised. So I was told that, in fact, Chick and Herbie Hancock, when they gave their testimony when I got this NEA award, that's the main thing they talked about his sound is different. Mm-hmm. Well, that was the reason why, because, you know, I was learning the instrument in the way that the other players used it. But I was doing it in the jazz idiom.
Wow. Talk about.
So therefore, you've got the world's greatest flautist.
No, he's the world's greatest. There's none better.
No question.
I've listened to many of them, and you're at the top
sound.
of the hill.
Yeah.
By yourself. I know you don't want to, and I understand your humility, but I'm just going to tell you anyway because I bought too many of your albums. I deserve to be able to speak my mind, okay? And I get the albums to show you.
Yeah.
So, but
I appreciate that, your accolades. But like I said, I have to downplay it.
Yes, indeed.
Because I'm just and we should all feel this way, man. We're messengers.
We're passing through here.
Passing through.
Yeah,
That's
we're messengers, because the music's going to be here after, we
after we're gone.
See?
It's true.
So if we acknowledge that, and then it'll help us to function better while we're here. You see? Isn't it better when you find somebody who's not always thinking about themselves?
My goodness.
Doesn't it make
That's a
you feel
breath of
refreshed?
fresh air.
It is.
Because this is a society that you don't always find. That's one of the things, as we were talking before the interview about society, that's one of the things that has harmed us in this society. We're going to talk a little bit about that because I want to take you guys off in that world a little bit. But it's so fun talking to you about music because that's such a primary thing. And so many people that I know that have revered both of you for so many years. And you still, I was listening to you there with my wife, Eloise, with my wife. You sound better or as good as you did maybe 25, 30 years. How do you do it?
Well, I stay fit. I vocalize and I sing a lot, and I love music.
Yes.
I love listening and I love singing, and I do a lot of it.
What do you say to young kids out there? They're getting ready looking to get into the business. It's crazy. It's always been crazy, but what do you say to kids out there getting ready to get into the business? Any words of advice you can give people that are looking to get into the business or are already in the business?
Well, I always say, and I get a chance to talk to a lot of students because when they have, during Black History Month, they have school programs where they invite people to come in and encourage the kids. And so I've done this a few times. I always tell them to, if it's something that they really feel in their hearts that they want to do, they have to study hard, and the dream has been put in them. No one else. Don't let anybody else talk you out of what you really want. If it's something you really want and you really feel passionate about, then work hard at it and stick with it. Don't let anybody talk you out of it. The dream has been put in you, not in someone else.
Hubert?
Last night, a guy asked me that very question in that orchestra. And I began to think about it. I said, you know what? Why do you speak English? Well, because it was all around me when I came up. See? Now, if you want to get advice on what you should do, you have to immerse yourself in that environment You see, in other words, you want to speak that language, be around that language. Now, I got kids that speak Spanish better than I do. Why? Because I saw the advantage of being able to speak 2 languages or more.
Smart man.
So I made sure that my helpers could only speak Spanish.
I didn't want them to learn English.
Now, my son, it's like planting a seed. If you plant an apple seed, you're going to get apples.
Yes.
So I saw the seed and had some foresight. Not me, but I told you about that angel.
Yes, indeed.
The angel was guiding me to make a decision that actually benefited my son and daughter. Now, my son really took to it more because he stayed with me longer. Okay? To this day, my son developed his own. He was like an entrepreneur. He never punched any clock. Although he's not involved in music, he still has a business mind.
Yes.
He developed a company. Wow. And all of his employees, guess what language they spoke?
Spanish.
Exactly.
Now you speak you speak fluent Spanish and Japanese.
Not as well. No, I don't speak Spanish. Look, my son can understand. See, I learned Spanish from like the books. Okay. That's how I studied, and I listen and watch TV in Spanish.
Yes.
And much of it I can't. My son can understand it because it's like street Spanish. I can't always understand these, but I mean, with somebody like there's one of my programs I listen to, and I do it religiously, called Caso Cerrado. It means case closed. It's like a program, where you're dealing with disputes.
Yes.
And I can understand the judge better than I can the litigants.
Wow.
Much better. Why?
Wow.
She speaks almost like she speaks in the way I can
from
really.
The book. Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
But no, the whole point is giving advice to younger ones, tell them to immerse themselves in the language.
Yes.
So I do that nowadays. So right to the, let's say, I have very influential people I work with, like the chick I mentioned earlier, and I listen to his records a lot. Why? Because he can influence my play. I feel like I can benefit and ascend higher levels continuously. So I say it's ongoing. I take my flute with me, except for today. I usually take it with me everywhere.
That's
and
true.
take advantage of every dime, nickel, quarter of time to try to develop or to try to maintain. Just to maintain is difficult.
Yes.
But if you want to try to improve, mejorar.
My wife is back there. She speaks. My wife is from Mexico. And when you guys were talking Spanish, I said, "Wait a minute! I've been married for 25 years. I can't roll like that."
Well, I put myself.
It's never too late.
Never too late. You're right. You're right.
Never too late.
Right. Guys, it's good to have you guys here. We're going to have to do this again. There's so much more I want to talk about. I want to talk about what's going on out here in the streets of Los Angeles and this entire country, and around the world. We'll get to that maybe next time I can get you guys together. I hope Mom is fine. You guys just went back home, I think, recently. What was the big deal back home when you guys went?
Well, Mom was being honored at City Hall, and the mayor gave her a proclamation, and it had something to do with her being 102, and it was the month that they honored the elderly.
Yes.
And so we went there obviously to be a part of her ceremony. And she wanted us there, and it was quite beautiful because it was at City Hall, and the mayor actually honored her. And then we had Dusty Baker, who came on the big Jumbotron.
He said a few words.
He said a few words.
Freaked everybody out. Here's Dusty Baker.
How wonderful her cooking was, and how he used to bring some of the other players, Jose Guerrero and all the players.
Dusty Baker used to manage the Dodgers. I
That's
think
right.
He's with Houston now.
And he now manages the Astros, and they're in first place.
Woo,
now the Angels lost a few weeks ago, so so now the Astros are in first place.
Yes.
But he spoke on the big screen. And it was quite refreshing, I have to say, that people in the chambers and the city council, I think, because their jaws dropped when he came on the screen.
Wow.
So she was well-deserved honored. She was.
Eloise Laws, go ahead.
I wanted to say quickly, because you guys talked about the music going to, can heal. But, the master teacher said, you cannot put new wine into old wine skins. Now, you know, that's a very profound meaning because he was answering a question. Because the people around him wanted him to help to heal their society, their way of living.
Yes.
Now, very important because the I call it the bow, B-O-W, the Book of Wisdom.
Yes.
It says there's no reforming this system. You can't put new ideas into the healing.
You can't.
You cannot reform. There's no reformation.
No.
What has to be done is going to be. It's like a person who's in your house and their behavior's bad. You evict them, don't you?
Yes.
That's exactly what the bow says will happen to this whole society, the world society of those who are alienated from the Creator.
Wow.
Because he gives instructions on people who need to reside on this earth. But now they are going to be evicted, those who refuse to comply and be obedient to this way of life.
Have to go.
Yeah, they got to go. And as you cannot, so we can't heal. I know the music is something we're given, but it's not going to heal the nation who's sick. It's sick. It's like a cancer, or it's like a house that's filled with termites and it's just rotten. It has to be
demolished.
It's rotten.
And then rebuild.
It's too rotten. You can't rebuild it. You got to get rid of it and build it.
Yeah, build anew. Start over again.
Legends, past, present, and future. Eloise and Big Brother, Hubert Laws, the legend, in studio. My God, God bless you guys for coming in. The 24th of June, Friday, Saturday, 25th of June, 7:30, doors open. That's at the Catalina Jazz Club, and we're going to see one of the best concerts in the history of that place because both of you are going to be there.
Oh, it's nice of you to say.
Yes,
God bless you, and thank you for coming in. I wish you guys the best.
Thank you.
And we'll hopefully see you very soon. Smooth Xperience will be actually taking a lot of this interview, and it'll be segued into our music show. And that will be on Spotify and YouTube and a bunch of other different formats and that. So I can't wait.
Fred, will you let us know when you're going to Spotify
no
and
question.
all of that?
No question.
Great.
Yes. Me and my producer, Alan, will contact you and let you know exactly what it is.
I want to tell you, you are an in-depth interviewer.
Yes, he is.
And I appreciate
you did your homework.
You know what? I try. The kids were jumping on me. I got to read this. I got to know. But listen, I want you guys to both know this from the bottom of my heart. Just the music that you've given the world, continue to do it. Don't stop.
Thank you.
I mean, we're in enough trouble, but if you, one of the beauties of the music that you play is it gives us something to believe in. And keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank
you so much.
Pleasure.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
Eloise and Hubert Laws on the Smooth Xperience.